Welcome to Grimfire.
You ever notice how people say they want the truth until the truth walks into the room wearing your face? And funny thing about the world, they can handle fake heroes, fake smiles, fake confidence, fake success. But the second someone real shows up, their entire system starts glitching. Their voices shake, their timelines explode, their little digital kingdoms catch fire. Because deep down, they built their comfort on one dangerous assumption, that you would stay hidden forever. But then something happened, one reveal, one moment, one identity exposed to the public eye. But then suddenly, the internet stopped laughing and started watching. Now everybody's acting strange. Your enemies are refreshing pages at 10 a.m. pretending they don't care. Strangers are speaking your name like they discovered a ghost inside the machine. The same people who ignored you yesterday are now studying every move like detectives at a crime scene. Because once people realize who was really behind the silence, behind the patience, behind the pressure, their minds begin collapsing under the weight of what they missed. See, most people survive by labeling others too early. Weak, weird, replaceable, harmless. That's how they sleep at night. That's how they avoid facing their own fear. But when your identity finally surfaced, it shattered the story they told themselves about you. And humans panic when reality humiliates their assumptions. Now they're spiraling. Some are obsessed. Some are terrified. Some are pretending it's all a joke because accepting the truth would destroy their ego completely. Polenja. Because the scariest thing in this world isn't power. Lumd. It's discovering the quiet person in the background was never ordinary to begin with. There was a moment, a very small moment, where the entire illusion cracked at once. You could almost hear it. Not with your ears. No, people like you learn to hear panic differently. You hear it in silence, in delayed replies, in nervous laughter, in the sudden flood of strangers pretending they always knew who you were. That's how fear sounds in the digital age. Plain, because the day your name exploded across screens, something strange happened to people. Their confidence disappeared. Their fake superiority started. The same mouths that once dismissed you suddenly started speaking carefully, like they were walking through a minefield, blindfolded. And the funniest part, you didn't even change. That's what destroyed them. You were always this person, always this dangerous, always this rare. The only difference is, now the spotlight finally reached the corners they hoped would stay dark forever. Tund. People love underestimating someone they can't understand. It makes them feel safe, gives them the illusion of control. They look at quiet people and think silence means weakness. They look at patience and mistake it for fear. They look at isolation and assume failure. But the truth is terrifying. Some people disappear because they're broken. Others disappear because they're building something too powerful to explain too early. And when your identity finally surfaced online, millions of people experienced the same horrifying realization at the exact same time. Bland. You mean that was the person behind all this? Oh, that realization hit hard. Man, you could see it spreading like poison through timelines and group chats. Screenshots flying everywhere. Secret watchers exposing them. Fake supporters suddenly becoming overexcited because they were desperate to your rise before the whole world noticed. They doubted you first. Human beings are funny creatures. They worship success after it becomes undeniable. Before that, they mock it, attack it, laugh at it. They need proof before they respect greatness. Because deep down, They're terrified of investing belief into something they can't control. Elaine. That's why your reveal disturbed them so deeply. You broke their pattern. You weren't supposed to emerge like this. Calm, untouchable, smiling while their entire perception collapsed around them. They expected noise, desperation, validation-seeking behavior. But instead, you appeared like someone who already knew exactly how this story would unfold years before anybody else caught up. Beamed that confidence shattered people mentally. Because confidence without explanation is one of the most unsettling things a human can witness. MD, especially online, the internet feeds on weakness. It survives through insecurity. Every day, people scroll endlessly, begging strangers to tell them who they are worth becoming. But then you appeared, carrying certainty, not arrogance, not ego, something colder, something quieter, certainty, bend, and people fear certainty because it reminds them how lost they are. Suddenly, your old posts became evidence. Your silence became mysterious. Your past became mythology. Every tiny detail about you transformed into obsession fuel for people who once scrolled past your existence like you were invisible dust. Planed. Now everybody's searching backwards, trying to understand how they missed it. Lend. But they missed it because they were trained to only notice loud things. Lambs. The world ignores pressure until pressure creates diamonds sharp enough to cut through reality itself. That day your identity reveal didn't just go viral. It exposed human nature in real time. Deigned people switched sides instantly. Enemies became quiet. Dubbiters became analysts. Observers became followers. And the ones who hated you most, they suffered because there's nothing more painful than watching someone you underestimated become impossible to ignore in front of the entire world. COULDN. Especially when your instincts warned you about them from the beginning. L'Onde. Now they replay every interaction with you inside their heads like a psychological horror film. Every insult sounds stupid now. Every dismissal, every moment they tried to make you feel small, now haunts them because they finally understand who they were talking to this whole time. Monde. That's the cruel beauty of identity reveals. They don't create power. They reveal where power was hiding all along. People like simple stories. They need them. It helps their fragile little minds survive the chaos of reality. Good guy, bad guy, winner, loser, weak, strong, normal, weird. The human brain is addicted to labels because labels create comfort. And comfort keeps people asleep. That's why the moment someone appears who cannot be easily explained, panic begins spreading beneath the surface like smoke under a locked door. And you? You became that panic. See, the problem was never your identity itself. The problem was what your identity represented. You weren't supposed to exist outside the categories they created for you. They already decided who you were years ago. Most people do that within seconds. One glance, one rumor, one failure, one awkward. Then they build an entire fictional version of you inside their heads and treat it like absolute truth. That fake version becomes their comfort zone. That fake version helps them feel superior. That fake version allows them to ignore their own insecurities because as long as they believe you are smaller than them, they never have to confront how empty they actually feel inside. But then your real identity surfaced, and suddenly their imaginary version of you died in public. That's why their minds couldn't handle it. Because human beings don't react well when reality humiliates their assumptions. Especially people with fragile egos. Especially people addicted to control. Especially people who secretly needed you to stay underestimated so they could continue feeling important. The internet became a battlefield of confusion. Overnight, some people tried pretending they already knew your worth. Those are the survivalists, the ones who switch sides quickly when power shifts. They don't care about truth. They care about proximity to success. They smell influence the way sharks smell blood in water. Others became angry instantly. Blemjen, not because you harmed them, because your existence exposed them. Your rise forced them to confront every lazy judgment they ever made about others, every insecure insult, every moment they laughed at somebody simply because they couldn't understand them. And most people would rather attack reality than admit they were wrong. That's why they started coping. Oh, it's overrated. Oh, it's not that serious. Oh, people are exaggerating. Listen carefully to people who downplay things after the world recognizes them. That tone, that nervous dismissal, that's not confidence. That's psychological self-defense. Because once the truth becomes public, insecure people scramble to protect their ego before it completely collapses. And the scariest part for them? You didn't beg for recognition. You didn't chase approval. Mains. You didn't scream for attention the way most people online do every single day. You simply revealed yourself, and reality handled the rest. That terrifies people more than raw power ever could, because power can be challenged. Bamdia, attention can fade, but authenticity? Authenticity is unpredictable. It moves differently. It carries a strange energy people can feel even when they don't fully understand it. And once authenticity collides with visibility, the entire social structure starts shaking. People begin questioning everything. If they were wrong about you, who else were they wrong about? That question spreads like a virus. Beyond. Suddenly, the loudest people look suspicious. Suddenly, fake confidence becomes easier to detect. Suddenly, people start realizing how often society rewards performance over substance. And then there's your silence. Your silence destroyed them. Psychologically, because people expected explanations. They expected emotional reactions. They expected revenge speeches, ego trips, validation-seeking interviews. Instead, you stayed calm while the internet unraveled itself around your identity, revealed like a city collapsing during an earthquake. Bands. That calmness disturbed them. A person who finally gets seen usually becomes emotional. But you looked almost prepared. Bengya, as if you already knew the world would eventually arrive at this exact moment. Pongde. That's when fear truly entered their minds. Blend, because they realized something horrifying. You were never trying to prove yourself to them. Lendia. You were simply waiting for reality to catch up. And once people understand that someone never needed permission to become powerful, their entire understanding of status begins breaking apart. That's why some people couldn't sleep after your reveal. That's why old enemies suddenly went quiet, leaned. That's why fake supporters appeared from nowhere. That's why strangers became obsessed with understanding your past. Planned. Because when the real version of you finally emerged into public view, it didn't just expose your identity, Belenja. It exposed how blind everybody else truly was. Silence makes people uncomfortable. Not normal silence. Not peaceful silence. I'm talking about the kind of silence that walks into a room and changes the temperature without saying a word. The kind that forces insecure people to keep talking because they can feel something watching from behind calm eyes. And that was always your silence. Dangerous people rarely announce themselves early. That's what fools do. Fools scream. Fools flex. Fools desperately perform for strangers online because they need constant proof that they matter. But truly dangerous people, they observe first. They learn patterns. They study reactions. They sit quietly while everybody else exposes themselves willingly. Bendia, and the world mistook your silence for weakness. Big mistake. See, human beings are addicted to noise because noise creates distraction. It helps them avoid themselves. That's why social media became a circus of fake confidence and rented personalities. Everybody shouting, everybody pretending, everybody trying to look important long enough to convince themselves they aren't terrified inside. But you moved differently. Lemja, you stayed quiet while others begged for validation. You stayed patient while others chased attention. And you stayed hidden while others exposed every insecurity they had to the world in exchange for temporary applause. And because you refused to perform, people created stories about you. Oh, they're not capable. Oh, they're scared. Beyond. Oh, they don't have what it takes. Funny how quickly people invent weakness when they cannot access somebody's mind. That's the thing about silence. Insecure people always interpret it incorrectly. They think if someone isn't speaking, then nothing is happening. They don't realize silence is often where transformation becomes deadly. Because while everybody else was busy talking, and you were building discipline, building control, building vision, building a version of yourself so dangerous that revealing it too early would have ruined the entire process. Most people destroy themselves because they announce their growth before it becomes real. They seek applause during construction instead of after completion. But you understood something the internet never teaches anymore. Privacy multiplies power. That's why your reveal hit so differently. People expected noise from you because noise is predictable. Instead, they got presence. Cold, controlled presence. The kind that forces rooms full of loud people into psychological discomfort without lifting a finger. Suddenly, your silence from the past started making sense to them. Every moment they mocked you, leaned. Every time they overlooked you. Every conversation where they assumed they understood you. Lemda, it all came rushing back into their minds at once, like shattered glass flying in reverse. Blend. And now they're scared because they finally understand what your silence actually meant. It meant focus. It meant patience. It meant you were evolving privately while they wasted years performing publicly. Barned. That realization destroys people mentally because most humans secretly know they lack discipline. They know they've spent their lives chasing distraction instead of mastery. So when someone appears who mastered silence instead of fearing it, people feel exposed around them, especially weak people. And weak people need constant reassurance. They need attention every hour, like oxygen. That's why they post every thought, every emotion, every tiny achievement online, hoping strangers will temporarily fill the emptiness inside them. Leaned. But your silence told a different story. It told people you didn't need them. And nothing terrifies the world more than someone who doesn't emotionally depend on applause. That independence changes everything. Man, it changes the way you walk, the way you look at people, the way pressure affects you. Land. Because once somebody becomes comfortable being alone with their own mind, they become almost impossible to manipulate. And that's why your quiet version was always the most dangerous version. Not the visible you, not the celebrated you. Pillioned, not the viral version everyone suddenly became obsessed with. No, Bend. The dangerous version was the one nobody noticed while transformation was happening. Underground, the version silently absorbing pain without complaining. Banged, the version learning from betrayal without seeking revenge. Immediately. Clem, the version watching fake people expose themselves naturally instead of interrupting them. Me, the version training emotionally while others were collapsing mentally over opinions from strangers. That silent version became sharp, precise, controlled. And now people feel the consequences of underestimating it. You can see it in their behavior. Nervous energy. Forced smiles. Fake support. Sudden respect from people who once treated you like background noise. Because deep down, they know something now. They wish they understood earlier. Quiet. People are dangerous when they finally stop hiding their true capabilities. Stand. Especially the ones who spent years being ignored. Lead. Especially the ones who mastered emotional control while everybody else became addicted to chaos. Dig. Especially the ones who learned how to disappear long enough to rebuild themselves into something the world can no longer mentally process once revealed. The funniest thing about fake people is how confident they are before the truth arrives. And before exposure, they move like kings. Loud opinions, fake loyalty, plastic smiles stretched across faces, hiding insecurity underneath. They think performance is reality. They think repeating something long enough makes it true. And as long as nobody challenges the illusion, they feel untouchable. But illusions have one weakness. Men's reality eventually walks through the door, and your identity revealed became that reality. The second people finally understood who you really were, masks started falling everywhere. Not slowly either, instantly, like a blackout hitting a city in the middle of a celebration. Suddenly, people who once laughed at you became weirdly supportive overnight. Suddenly, critics became silent philosophers. Suddenly, old enemies started acting neutral because they realized attack would expose how badly they misjudged you in public. That's what truth does. It doesn't just reveal one person, it reveals everybody connected to the story. See, fake people survive through controlled narratives. They carefully design versions of themselves, depending on who's watching. Around strong people, they act humble. Around weak people, they act dominant. Around successful people, they act inspired. Around struggling people, they act superior. They're emotional shapeshifters, constantly adjusting personalities for survival. But then someone authentic appears, and their entire strategy begins malfunctioning because authenticity forces consistency, and fake people cannot survive consistency for long. Eventually the cracks appear. Eventually the contradictions surface. Eventually the performance becomes exhausting. That's why your reveal terrified them. Damned, not because you exposed secrets directly, because your existence exposed behavior naturally. People started replaying old situations differently. Oh, wait. They only mocked you because they felt threatened. Oh, wait. They pretended to support you publicly while secretly hoping you failed. Oh, wait. They weren't confident at all. They were scared of being overshadowed. And once people begin seeing through masks, fake personalities collapse rapidly. And you could almost watch it happening in real time online. Some people started over-explaining themselves immediately. Dangerous sign. Guilty. People always talk too much when truth surfaces. They rush to rewrite history before reality settles into public memory permanently. Others disappeared completely. That's another fascinating reaction. Bland. Because some people can only exist inside environments where truth stays hidden. Once authenticity enters the room, their personality starts dying from lack of deception. They built their confidence on manipulation, comparison, gossip, and select storytelling, but your reveal destroyed those tools instantly. Beamed. Now they can't control perception anymore, and without control, insecure people panic. Blind. That's why certain individuals suddenly became aggressive toward you. After your identity reveal, not openly emotional. No, fake people are smarter than that. They disguise envy as criticism. They disguise insecurity as concern. They disguise jealousy as jokes, but energy never lies. You can always feel when someone secretly resents your existence. B. Especially when your growth reminds them of everything they failed to become. That's the part hope nobody talks about. MD, your success becomes a mirror. And mirrors are dangerous because they force people to confront reality instead of fantasy. Every fake friend suddenly sees their own dishonesty clearer standing next to someone real. Every lazy person sees their excuses more clearly next to discipline. Every attention addict feels exposed beside somebody who gained influence naturally without begging for it. Pongs. That's why your reveal triggered emotional chaos around you. You became evidence that authenticity still wins eventually. G. Evidence that silent growth is more powerful than loud performance. Beamed evidence that fake people can manipulate perception temporarily, but cannot outrun truth forever. And deep down, they know it. Cleanse. That's why their behavior changed so fast. After the world noticed you, the same people who once treated you casually now watch every move carefully. The same people who ignored your words now quote them like discoveries. The same people who acted above you now desperately try to stand near your energy because they understand something now they wish they understood earlier. Mond fake people become harder to tolerate with exposure, and the internet accelerated that process brutally after your reveal. Lend. Now everybody can see the difference. Who switched sides too fast, who only appeared after success became visible. Mend. Who secretly doubted you while pretending otherwise, who vanished when authenticity made manipulation impossible. Cleansed. That's the cruel beauty of truth. It doesn't need revenge. Dick. It simply stands still long enough for fake people to destroy themselves in front of everybody, trying to escape the reflection, staring back at them from your existence alone. People keep saying the internet made you powerful. That's adorable. Me, as if screens can create something that wasn't already there. As if algorithms manufacture presence. As if millions of views can magically inject depth into an empty soul. The internet doesn't create power. It amplifies whatever already exists. If someone is fake, exposure makes them faker. If someone is weak, attention makes them collapse faster. If someone is lost, visibility only broadcasts the confusion louder. But when somebody real steps into visibility, no, that's when things become dangerous. Because authenticity, multiplied by attention, creates something most people are psychologically unprepared to witness. you know? And that's exactly what happened when the world finally noticed you. Mansi. People assume visibility equals value because they grew up inside digital systems where attention became currency. They think followers equal substance. Viral moments equal importance. But deep down, everybody knows most internet personalities are built like cardboard houses, loud on the outside, hollow underneath. That's why they couldn't stop staring at you. You carried weight, not fake. Look at me, energy, not rented confidence copied from motivational clips online. Something heavier, something calmer, the kind of presence people feel before they fully understand it. And suddenly the internet reacted like electricity touching water. Tempt chaos, obsession, fear, curiosity, because people realized your influence didn't come from trying to impress them. It came from becoming someone impossible to ignore. Naturally, that difference matters. Desperate people chase attention. Powerful people attract it accidentally. That's why your rise disturbed so many minds at once. You skipped the normal process. You didn't beg. You didn't perform emotional gymnastics for validation. You didn't redesign your personality every week trying to stay relevant. You simply revealed yourself. And reality did the rest. The internet merely witnessed what already existed in silence for years. But human beings hate admitting they overlooked greatness early. It embarrasses them. People want success to look obvious in hindsight because it protects their ego. They need to believe they always knew because accepting they completely misjudged, someone forces them to question their instincts, and your reveal attacked their instincts directly. Suddenly, old interactions felt different. Old memories became suspicious. Old opinions sounded foolish. Bland people started connecting dots they ignored before. The way you carried yourself, the way you stayed calm under pressure, the strange confidence hidden inside your silence. All the signs were there. But people missed them because modern society became addicted to surface-level perception. They only respect what's already popular. That's why the internet exploding over your identity felt almost poetic. The same digital world that once overlooked you became unable to stop talking about you. Not because the internet changed you, because the internet finally caught up to reality, and that terrified people. Especially individuals who built their identity around being better than you. Oh, they suffered the hardest, because now they had to watch millions recognize something they were too blind to see standing directly in front of them for years. Imagine that pain. Imagine realizing the person you underestimated was evolving quietly into someone the entire world would eventually obsess over. That realization crushes weak egos completely. Now they're scrambling emotionally trying to rewrite history. Some pretend they supported you from the beginning. Some claim they always knew you were different. Others try minimizing your impact because accepting your full power feels psychologically unbearable. But none of it changes the truth. Power existed before attention arrived. The internet simply exposed it publicly. That's why your energy feels different from most people online. You weren't built by applause, which means applause cannot control you. Most internet personalities become addicted to attention because attention created their identity in the first place. Remove the audience and they disappear mentally. But you existed before the spotlight. You survived before recognition. You evolved before validation. That creates a completely different kind of presence. Stable, cold, untouchable, and people can feel it instinctively. That's why your reveals spread beyond normal virality. It wasn't just content anymore. It became psychological, symbolic, almost myth-like. People projected their fears onto you, their curiosity, their insecurities, their admiration. Because authentic power always becomes larger than the individual carrying it, especially online. And the internet feeds on illusions all day long. So when something real suddenly appears, society reacts almost violently, trying to process it.